Tech Talk Live. Join the conversation now. Email your questions to info@midsouthadio.com or call us live on the air. 302-491-6484. Talk Live.
And welcome to episode number 4 of Tech Talk Live, the July edition of Tech Talk Live. Great to be back with you. And in the studio tonight with us, we have a fewer people than last time. We're the only ones that aren't currently on a gig. So we have Michael LeCates sitting next to me, and we have Dutch Hine with us. Gino and Steven are at the Pony Swim, getting ready for that in Chincoteague, and Austin is off in Baltimore getting training tonight. So they'll probably be calling in at some point. And in the driver's seat tonight, we have the legendary, the one and only.
Right, right.
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah, well, you know,
I'm excited to be here.
It's an honor.
My name's Dan Gaffney.
That is Dan Gaffney. There
yes,
you go.
thank you. We invite your phone calls for Kevin and the crew at 302-491-6484. This is a live show. We have a lot of questions already submitted. People are writing their questions, but we're also taking your calls. 302-491-6484. It's on the screen. Call in. Maybe you could be one of the first ones to answer get one of your questions in, Kevin.
Cool. Yeah, I mean that's the fun part about the show. Lots of ways to get up with us. You can email us info@midsouthadio.com. We're monitoring that. We're monitoring the Facebook comments, and we are monitoring the phones. And that's kind of the unique part. Most Facebook Live shows can't take live phone calls.
Before we get to the first question, do you want to talk about the guest you have at 8?
Coming up at 8 o'clock tonight, we will be joined by QSC Audio. Many of you know QSC is the manufacturer of the now legendary TouchMix 30, TouchMix 16, and TouchMix 8 series of mixers. And they just introduced the new K.2 series of speakers, an upgrade of their K series, which is been a real trendsetter in powered speakers. So they're going to be with us at 8 o'clock. That last half hour, they'll be talking about that. And I'm going to mention this up front. We're currently in the middle of running a competition to win a TouchMix 8 mixer. We announced this last month, and it's going to run. We're going to give the prize away next month. So you still have a month to enter. What you have to do is send an email with free TouchMix 8 in the subject line. Send the email to info@midsouthadio.com and just tell the guys at QSC why you think you deserve a free TouchMix 8. We have been promoting that for the last month. We've gotten a lot of entries already, a lot in just the last couple days. So we're sure we'll get some. We'll get quite a few. And you're gonna what's the street price of a TouchMix 8?
Around $1,000.
Yeah,
around there.
Yeah, $900, $1,000. Yeah.
Wow.
And they're just going to send it out. So for they'll pick the They're looking for some creative entries, but I think ultimately they'll probably just pick the winner at random.
And the website or the email is info@midsouthaudio.com. Right?
That's it.
Very good. Please share this Facebook post. If you are watching, we ask you to share this. Grows the audience. The more great questions for you to learn about. Okay? Are you ready for a question?
We are. You guys ready?
Okay.
Okay.
Starting right off, this is a question submitted by Eric in Ocean City. I have 2 mic cables that work fine on handheld mics. We use SM58s, but they will not work on our podium microphone. Can you explain this, please? I have watched both of your shows from the archives. Our praise team rehearses on Tuesday night, so I can't see it live. Thanks for doing this. I've learned something from each show. I have shared the video and even discussed the questions with my friends. So the SM58's not working on the podium mic.
Well, thanks, Eric, for the email. And I think the short answer to that is that there is probably what we call that in the business is that the cable is probably two-legged, meaning that all 3 of the conductors are not wired. And my guess is the podium mic is probably a condenser mic, requires phantom power, and you can't pass phantom power in a two-wire system. But a dynamic mic will work with 2 wires. That's my guess.
I was going to blame it on the console, honestly.
Yeah,
I mean, maybe the mic
phantom
cable. I mean, if it's 2 mic cable, I feel like it's very rare that
Could
2 of them are going to go bad.
Console.
They might not have the phantom power on the
Or that
console.
could be
Or
it too.
depending on your console, some smaller format consoles don't actually output enough power for 40. Certain microphones require more power than others. If you look really close to the specs, and then some mixers actually don't output that much power.
And
the
we're just-
phantom power mic criteria is from 12 to 48 volts, and there are some phantom power microphones that need actually more than 12 volts.
and then there are some mixers that don't put out.
More than 12.
More than
So you can be legal in mixer world by only putting out 12 volts DC of phantom power, but the microphone may not work. So I kind of.
What's the first thing he should try?
I mean,
A new
I
cable would be the first thing I would.
Yeah, and
easy
if that doesn't
thing.
work, I mean, I would check your console to see if you actually have phantom power on, because the podium mic probably needs it.
I think that's the case.
Very good. Next question from Jennifer from Cambridge. Oh, before we get to that, your live calls, your live questions for Mid-South Audio Tech Talk Live, 302-491-6484. You are watching a live Facebook show. Please share. Please call 302-491-6484. Here's a question from Jennifer from Cambridge. We just started making videos in our church, and our picture is too dark. Will ceiling lights help? How about a spotlight? Would fluorescent lighting be a cheap way to go?
Dutch?
I mean, I'll start with the first part. Will ceiling lights help? Yes, but the only problem with the ceiling lights is it's going to be more downlight. So if the camera's coming from the front, light's coming from above, and if so your face isn't going to be lit. I mean, you're going to have your shoulders, the top of your head being lit. And if the person's wearing a hat or anything like that, I mean, their face is going to be very dark, and it's almost going to make the image worse than better. Spotlight, yes, that's a good way to go. And then fluorescent lighting. I mean, yes, it would be a cheap way to go. I don't know if it'd be the best way to go, because most of the time with that, that's also going to be light from above, and you're not going to get that correct color temperature that you're going for.
Yeah, the other thing would be the actual camera itself. There are plenty of cameras that do not do well in low light environments, and sometimes there are filters depending on the pro level of your camera or any level of camera. Some filters you can adjust to work better in low lights, but a lot of times just having a camera that's meant to work well in low light will help out a lot. But lighting is always key in video world.
You want to get to the fluorescent part of the question? Did you mention that?
Yeah.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Was I not paying attention?
You weren't, Kevin. Sorry.
Okay, well, then whatever he said. Go ahead. Move along. Okay. So what was your tell me.
I was just talking about color temp, and with fluorescent lighting, I feel like they're going to still have lighting from above. And, you know, to me, I I don't know if that's the best idea.
I got you. Okay. And,
I mean,
and you can get some flicker from fluorescent lights.
Yeah,
too.
and like
Depending on the
Michael
camera.
said, I mean, it's get better camera would help, and a spotlight too.
I heard some of that. I just didn't
Yeah.
realize we were. Okay.
Gotcha.
All right.
I'll do better. I'll pay attention. Okay.
When they think spotlight, too, they might be thinking like a showbiz spotlight with everything dark and one light on somebody. But to you guys, a spotlight means something different, doesn't it?
I mean that, or I'm also thinking if they had like a Lico out front or something like that, maybe a Parcam,
Yeah, a
because
few
you're
more
just
focused lights.
Yes, right. Right.
Whereas spotlight, in my head, I think the same thing. You know,
Yeah, like a follow spot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And someone
they
might
don't-
be thinking, that doesn't quite go with the church.
Right.
You know,
yeah.
they might think
Yeah,
that.
Exactly. Yeah.
So just want to know.
But you can have fixed ellipsoidals that are focused, and they do the same thing a follow spot does, except they won't move with you. So, yep.
Peter from Lewis has our next question. We're asking you to please share. This is Tech Talk Live. Kevin Short is here with Mid-South Audio, and he's tackling the next question. This is Peter from Lewis. I own a restaurant in Lewis, Delaware, with a small outside deck and a walk-through garden. I had a local music store install some outside speakers that look like rocks. They never sounded good to begin with, and now 3 of them are not working. The store said they don't sell outside speakers anymore. A musician friend suggested that I call you. I'm not going to do anything this season, so I thought Tech Talk might be a good forum to ask the question. What should I replace these rocks with?
Well, there are still speaker manufacturers that make speakers that are inside a facade rock.
Mm-hmm. I just saw them today, actually.
Yeah. I mean, if that's what you're looking for, that we could replace them. They're not jumping off the shelves,
No, and they're never going to sound great.
and they're not, and then they're going to sound like speakers inside rocks. But there are plenty of outside speakers that are weatherized, completely weatherproof, that are low profile, that you can hide inside landscaping. It used to be that there wasn't a speaker that sounded really good, so they hid it inside, like a rock, But now you can actually have an exposed speaker that looks good. They even make them, in different colors, so they blend into the landscaping.
Yeah, there's a wide variety of brands out there that all have great speakers that are relatively inexpensive, too.
Yeah.
All right, available at Mid-South Audio.
There you go.
And the email address, info@midsouthaudio.com. We have a Facebook question. Monitoring the Facebook questions, here's Colin in the engineering room. Colin, what do you have?
Well, we've got a couple comments, actually, plus a question. Jim says, howdy, howdy, looking good, watching from Lincoln, Delaware. Kevin says, I made it, so I guess everybody was expecting him to be here, so he made it. And he does have a question as well.
Okay.
So Kevin's question is, do you feel a changing of the guard in regards to DAWs? Is that how you say it, DAWs?
Yeah, DAWs. Yep.
DAWs,
Mhm.
okay. Is Pro Tools not keeping up, in your opinion, with the rest?
All right, Steven, you want to call in and take this question? We could spend the rest of the show talking about what's trending in DAW world. Pro Tools is still pretty hot. We use Cubase. I personally use Mixbus. When I do stuff outside of the studio, but there's probably no argument that Pro Tools is probably still the most used and the most shared. It's also probably the most misused, and so it's there is a little bit of a change of the guard. There's been some things going on with the ownership of Pro Tools and that, but if you want to go the Pro Tools route, you're probably not making a huge mistake. If compatibility really comes to, do you want to be compatible with other people that have? If most of your friends have Pro Tools rigs, then you should probably have Pro Tools. So hopefully that answers the question. I personally don't. I've not done much in Pro Tools. I've used it, but that's just not what we use as a studio. But they all pretty much function the same, and they've gotten to the point where they all sound pretty good. I mean, there's not a lot of difference. You can't really hear a lot of difference between one and the other.
You're watching Tech Talk Live. Please share the video. We like to grow the audience. You can help by sharing right there on your Facebook page. Just press share, and you can help out by calling with your questions, anything tech related. 302-491-6484 in the audio, lighting, visual, recording realm. Sandy from Morgantown, West Virginia has a question. I believe we're going to ask her question now. I can't get a straight answer on how long HDMI cables can be. I've read articles that say you should not exceed 20 feet, but I see some for sale that are 100 feet long. Do they work?
You want to take it?
That's
She's right on both accounts.
yeah.
There are plenty out there that are 100 feet long. Some of them work.
And some of them don't. One thing to keep in mind, whenever you get past, 25 feet, you want to be looking for the active HDMI cables. They have a booster built in to help with that distance. HDMI was never really meant to go very long. That's why it was a very consumer-based.
And if you use one of those cables with the booster, you got to be careful because, it only goes one way.
Yeah, you're supposed to run it one way.
It's
some
only
people don't pay
boosting that
attention
signal,
to which side is for the TV and which side's for, the DVD player,
Which
whatever
is the
you're
in and which
connecting
is the
to.
out, yeah.
So.
You hit the nail on the head. HDMI has been adapted by the prosumer world and now the pro video world. It was originally a consumer product to combine digital and video and audio together. It was never really meant to be a pro standard. We've kind of gotten stuck with it. Mm-hmm. Because the standard was not implemented with real tight criteria, it's kind of all over the place. So it depends. The cable does have something to do with it, but it's not as much about the length of the cable. It's also depending on how the manufacturer of piece A and piece B implement the HDMI standard. As to, you can have some pieces that a 20-foot cable will work fine. Other pieces, you put a 100-foot cable that would work in another application. It won't work between those two pieces.
Some of that has to do with the HDCP compliance.
Yep.
Some items aren't as compliant or are different levels of compliance. So then you get issues.
There are necessary evils in this business, and HDMI is convenient, but it is something we have to deal with, and a lot of times we convert it just to not have that problem. And speaking of that, next week's guest at Lona.
Next month's guest.
Did I say next week? Yeah. We should do this every
It's almost next week.
Yeah.
Next month is almost next week.
These guys wouldn't do this next week if I tripled their salary.
Who is your guest next month?
At Lona. And At Lona is a manufacturer that makes solutions for taking situations like HDMI.
Yeah, it's all distributed video and audio, and they have some new control stuff out, but they do they have a lot of HDMI stuff, but it's all over Cat 6.
Hey, if you're just tuning in, I want to kind of reset. This is Tech Talk Live. I'm Dan Gaffney, running the controls for Kevin Short and his crew from Mid-South Audio. This is a live show. Please share the Facebook video, and please call us with your questions. Here's the number. It's on the screen as well, 302-491 6484 Tech Talk Live. And Kevin, you have a guest coming up at 8 o'clock, just in case someone didn't know that.
We do. QSC will be here at 8 o'clock talking about their TouchMix series of mixers, and we'll talk more about the contest that we have for you to win a free TouchMix mixer. And they'll also be talking about the K series of speakers, and I'm kind of excited about that because we just got our first shipment of K series, a month ago, maybe? And they're unbelievable. I didn't think they could improve on the K series. I thought maybe it would be better. And I actually heard these in California last year. But when we actually got them in our hands and could compare them, they're unbelievable. So we'll be talking about that in a little while. Stephen actually did comment on this question. So Stephen and Gino are apparently
going back to the Pro Tools.
Yeah, they have their feet propped up in a hotel in Chincoteague, and I don't know what else there is to do. There. So from what I've seen, the Pro Tools HD system is the industry standard and equally powerful, if not even more powerful as far as processing goes than any other professional DAW out there. So, and I knew that's what he was going to say because he is a dyed-in-the-wool Pro Tools fan. So there you go.
All right. Any other questions? Write them in the Facebook comment or call us. Let's go to Kenny from Upper Darby, PA. Here's Kenny's question, guys. What is the difference between Cat 5 or Cat 6 cables? Aren't they basically the same across the board? If a cable is Cat 5 rated, then the brand or model shouldn't matter, correct?
All right. Let's see. Well, category cable or structured cable to start with is the first category cable that anybody in our business ever came along. So many things in the audio business came from the telephone industry. We have phone connectors that are that you plug your guitar in with. That came from the phone company. The Category 3 cable is category cable that goes on an RJ14 cable that plugs your telephone in at home if you still use a wired phone. When we had to transmit more high-speed data, we went to Cat 5 and then to Cat 5e. And Cat 5e brought us into 1 gigabit. Cat 6 now takes us into the 100 gigabit realm, but the length is limited. We have a chart. Can we put that chart up, guys, in the back? The difference in Cat 5 and Cat 6 and Cat, you'll see that, and I have a little trouble seeing this, but we're good. Is the stranding, how tight, if you look at that Cat 6 cable, it's wrapped very, very tightly, very, very close together.
Kind of like you, Kevin.
Yeah, exactly. And then Cat 5 is what I wish I felt like. We're kind of loose and hanging out. So there you go. But it's a higher speed cable, more definition. Now, the question though was if it says Cat 6, is all Cat 6 the same? The answer to that is no. It depends on if the cable is plenum rated, if the cable is, if you're going to use it. Like we use Cat 6 to control our lighting consoles and our audio. So we have a rubber-coated Cat 6 cable that's meant for people to walk on or use outside. That's not the same kind of cable you would pull through walls. So they're not all the same. And the flexibility of the cable in category cable world, I think, is very critical, because if you can actually take a piece of Cat 5 or Cat 6 and bend it at a 90-degree angle, and it'll stop working, because the electrons just don't, they get all bottled. For lack of a technical term, there's a bottleneck inside that wire. You guys want to? I've just rambled on about that. You got any? There was another. I think I had another slide. Did I have another slide for that, or no? Was that the only Cat? Yeah, there's the difference. It shows what's the I can't see that. The cable length for 100 gigabit is like 100 and some feet. Is that what it says? I can't see it.
Yeah. Cable type, max data transmission, and max bandwidth is what this is showing.
Right. So go back after the show's archived and look at that slide. When after I can't see it. But anyway, that's the difference. I think hopefully we answered the question.
But in the case of Cat 5, Cat 5e, Cat 6, most manufacturers make their stuff so it works with both. So it can be a Cat 5 cable or a Cat 6 cable.
All right, guys, let's take a live phone call at 302-491.
This is the fun part and the scary part.
Yeah, I know. 302-491-6484. Folks on Tech Talk Live with Mid-South Audio, say hello to Jesse in Seaford. Jesse, go ahead.
Jesse.
Hey, guys.
Hey, now.
What's up, man?
What's happening?
So, long-time listener, first-time caller. Lifelong fan of Dutch.
Oh, no.
Here
we go.
Dutch's biggest fan. Yes.
Oh, biggest fan. Dutch, you are just too quiet. You need to amp it up. Bring that fierceness you had when you were talking about microphones on episode 1, dude. It's really lacking. You really need to step the game up.
I'm sorry,
Michael,
Jesse.
you're talking too much.
I'll make sure I
go take a bathroom break.
Thanks, Jesse.
Well, thank you, Jesse. Thanks for calling. Jesse is we work together a lot with Jesse, and he's a great guy, and does give Dutch a hard time on a fairly regular
Everyone
basis.
gives me a hard time. It's all right. I can take it.
Thanks for calling, man.
All right, your call can be next at 302-491-6484. We're also asking you to write your questions down below. Click like, and please share. You guys ready for the next question?
Absolutely.
Wendy from Georgetown says, our daughter graduated from Carnegie Mellon University with a degree in theater arts and also studied music privately. Her career began on Broadway, where she's been working since 1995 and has worked on 3 Tony-nominated shows and won a Tony for sound design in 2011, working under the great Christopher Shute.
Wow.
There are quite a few women working in her field, and there are plenty of room for many more. Thanks for doing your show. I did not know there was a production company in Georgetown until recently. My husband and I retired from the Pittsburgh area and moved just east of Georgetown in 2015.
I think the reason for that email was in response to women in women in audio and video production. There was a comment on a show a few,
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
so
the
I guess what
last
she's basically
show.
saying is that her daughter's made a great career out of it, and if she's winning Tonys, she's doing well.
I guess so.
Yeah, and I actually don't know Christopher Shute or Christopher Shutt, but like I said, if he's winning Tonys for sound design, he's got to be the living end. So
Let's go to
congratulations to her.
Wesley from Dover before we get to our next call at 302-491-6484. Wesley from Dover says, I am a lay pastor in a small but growing Methodist church in Dover, Delaware. I would like to see our church start to do a web stream or even Facebook Live for our Sunday services. Could you give me an approximate budget goal? We have very little in the way of audio gear, just a simple mixer, 2 speakers, no video equipment at all. I know we need to upgrade our sound and video, but for now, I would like to raise the money to start a video ministry. What's a good amount? Our current attendance on Sunday is about 75, but we have many saints that are homebound. I would like to reach our aging membership.
I'll let you take this call, but take this question. But that's an amazing thing. That this is our 28th year in business. When I first started, we were doing every church. We had a lot of church clients that had a cassette ministry. So they would have cassettes that went out to the homebound population, and then that became a CD ministry. And now we're talking about webcam. So I can't picture my parents in a nursing home logging on, to watch them, but I guess it happens. So this question has come up just in the last week or two, like a couple times.
Yeah,
about web streaming. So take it.
I'm in different churches almost every week anymore, and one of the number one questions is about streaming. So, an approximate starting budget for, if you just want to do a very simple one camera into the streamer, into the computer, tie in from your audio system, you'd be in the $4,000 to $5,000 range for a good camera and all the right equipment. And that kind of includes the laptop in that $5,000 range, or computer, depending on if the church doesn't already have one. But the problem could be, depending on the age of your audio system, it may not have the connectivity to plug into the camera. And the thing with video, if you're in a small church, the pastor may come down and not talk on a microphone for the congregation. If you're going to stream, he has to be on a microphone, or they're not going to hear him very well. So there's a lot to take in, but a starting budget would probably be in the $4,000 to $5,000 range for good equipment.
We were in a meeting just the other day with a church. In fact, this was my church. We met with them last Friday, and they're talking about web streaming. They're currently doing a Facebook Live with a camera on a tripod in the sanctuary, and they just wanted to see what kind of response they would get, and now they're going to pursue it, I believe. But they noticed that they have a bigger lighting problem than they thought, because when the preacher steps out from the pulpit, he's in the dark. So it can reveal some other things. So, but that's a good budget to start with. I mean, you can
get a decent camera in a low light. I mean, I did a church recently where it was one camera that was meant for low light. They don't have very great front lighting in there, and they're streaming, and it was in the $4,000 range. Now, they already had the computer. That's one thing you have to keep in mind. You do need a computer for that, but
and you got to have internet access.
And internet.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a small country church in the middle of nowhere, and you
may not.
Yeah,
have that.
but that's we kind of make predictions about where we think the market's going to go. And at the beginning of this year, we really thought that this was going to be a year for PTZ cameras and for web streaming. And so far, we kind of nailed that prediction. That's where it's gone.
All right,
we have a call?
Yeah, Jesse is back with an actual legitimate question about
for Dutch.
We cut them all
about consoles.
Did we hang up on you, Jesse?
Someone hung up on me.
was
I
Kevin.
won't mention names, but I'm sure it was Dutch. Gosh. So I kind of, I guess it's kind of like a recommendation question, kind of like, where the overall show may possibly go. Because I know you guys are hitting on a lot of things. People are tuning in, trying to just see like the emerging technologies and things like that. Are you guys ever going to kind of like go to like almost like a tech talk and show? And I'm talking more about like digital consoles and things like that, and kind of like showcasing, what you guys use and what you can sell. That way, kind of people see it online, and then they can, come in and get that for their church or their place of business. Because I know a lot of people are kind of afraid to, take that leap from, the analog world to the scary digital console mixing world.
We haven't actually discussed that, but that would kind of be an interesting thing if we actually would demo a product and like take a portion of the show and actually do that and maybe demo it and walk people through it and show it how it works. That could be cool.
Look at Jesse coming up with a good idea.
Yeah, thank you, Jesse.
Well,
but,
I mean, I was a little afraid. Definitely, like, because, for example, when we went to the new lighting console, when we came from that Leprechaun over to the new Avalites, I was scared, after seeing, like, Dutch, utilize that product line for so long, I was like, there's no way I can do it. But, after just, sitting down, him giving me a run-through, I now know a little bit about it. I mean, I can do so much more than I once could. I mean, if I start vaping and put a car at your place for storage, Kevin, I could probably fill in for Dutch every once in a while.
I quit. I'm going home.
That's funny. Well, we did Dutch. I'm sure trained you to be an Avalite expert. So, that's not a bad idea. We could try. I wouldn't be averse to taking a half-hour segment and going through a piece of gear. That could be something we would do. And I tell you, if anybody's interested in that, we actually almost everything that we sell at the office, we also rent because we are a rental house. So if you need training on a piece or you want to try something before you buy it, you can come by the warehouse and we'll spend time with you and take it out, show you how to use it.
And we can even get demo equipment if it's it's probably best to call ahead for any of those.
Oh yeah, we had a church 2 weeks ago. Wanted to try they thought they wanted to be in a digital console, and we sent them a demo over, and then they were right on it as soon as they saw it. So
hey guys, back in a minute. You're listening to Tech Talk Live. We're taking your phone calls 302-491-6484.
Conversation now. Email your questions to info@midsouthaaudio.com or call us live on the air. 302-491-6484. Tech Talk Live. Tech Talk Live. Join the conversation now. Email your questions to info@midsouthaaudio.com or call us live on the air. 302-491-6484. Talk Live.
And we're back. We took a minute there. We're back. Episode 4, Tech Talk Live. Thanks for sticking around. Thanks for sharing the program. If you have not shared this tonight, just hit the share button at the bottom of your Facebook page. And thanks for the calls. We like the calls. So the number once again 302-491-6484. And coming up in just 30 minutes, our guest from QSC will be talking about the K-Series speakers and TouchMix. And I guess this is a good time to mention the TouchMix contest. So remember this. Send an email to info@midsouthaaudio.com. In the subject line, put free TouchMix 8 and just explain why you deserve a free TouchMix 8. And next month, not next week, next month, the August show, we will be giving away, QSC will be giving away a brand new TouchMix 8 console to some lucky person.
That's killer.
It is going to be amazing. Yeah.
TouchMix, free TouchMix 8.
In the subject line. That's all that matters. So.
To info@midsouthaaudio.com.
Yes.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
I think we have a Facebook question we wanted to get to here?
We have one. It's not the one you wanted, but let's go to Colin on the Facebook desk with this question. Colin.
Yeah, okay. We've got Jack that's saying Colin needs a cool black shirt too. So I guess I'm putting my order in now for a cool black shirt. Jay also is commenting, or actually he's asking a question. He says, "Hi, Kevin. I'm 64 years old and was wondering, how do I become a rock star with my remaining time on this planet? Great thing you guys are doing here. Very nice. Yours truly and sincerely, Jay Lewis, the old Hammond guy."
Well, I don't know about the old part, but Jay Lewis is a very good Hammond organ player, and we did a lot of sessions together years ago. And thanks, Jay. We kind of rekindled our friendship via Facebook a few years ago, and it's good hearing from Jay. Thank you for watching. The other question was from Marty Miller. Marty said, "Can you guys explain the magic of tube preamps and why this is significant?" And I don't know about. I guess magic is the people that like them think they're magical. The reason that tube preamps are popular is because they actually color the sound and they make it warmer. Some preamps are intended to be pristine. They're discrete. They're solid state, and they're the intention of like the preamp in this console that we're using in here. The intention of that preamp is to not color our voices or make them sound any different. A tube preamp has a definite characteristic, and it's definitely warmer, smoother, and that's why So some people love tube preamps on vocals, on recordings. We get a lot of we do the Jazz Festival in Rehoboth, and a lot of those guys request tube preamps outside of a digital console just to warm up the digital part of that console. Tube preamps. A lot of bass players play through tube preamps just to give it a little more warmth and cut the edge off. So that's the magic. I actually have a Takamine guitar that has a tube preamp that I kind of think is actually in the gimmick world, because for a tube to actually sound warm, it needs to be hot, and the guitar runs off 2 9-volt batteries, so it's kind of hard to warm up a tube with 18 volts. But so they can be a little gimmicky sometimes, but they do sound different. So hopefully that answered Marty's question. So you guys got anything to comment about the tube thing?
Oh, I definitely don't.
Okay, yeah, they're much younger.
Let's go.
What's a tube?
Right. Let's go to a question from George. Is the next question?
This is George from Paducah. Yes.
He watched one of your replays, and it was good information. I've got a lot of 600 megahertz stuff out. I don't know how it's going to go. I feel many will ride it out as long as they can till they're forced out.
I was hoping George would call us tonight. And George is a colleague of ours and a great friend, a mentor of mine in the business, and he is from Paducah. And we've been having this long-running debate this last couple of weeks about console switches, and I thought he was going to call about that. But those were his comments from last week's show about the 600 megahertz switch. So anyway, I know George watches the show. He does a great job of sharing the show, and thank you very much for your participation. And that's we're trying to build this audience, and it's an audience of people that just want to talk about tech stuff. So we're having fun. I mean, so it just doesn't have to be real serious. And sometimes we just don't know the answers. Yeah.
Let's go to the phones here. We have another question. This is from Maryland. Is your name Dee?
Yes.
Dee, tell us where you're calling from.
Leonardtown.
All right. Go ahead with your question.
I just wanted to say hello. I call most weeks.
You are a regular caller. That's correct. Yes.
There we go. I got your audio now. I really had a comment, for Jesse calling in and beating up Dutch like that. I think I'm kind of one of the guys, and I'd like to make a little challenge here to all our email guys. They're going to email with QSC to make sure they mention something clever about Jesse in their emails, and I'm hoping we could get some of those on the air.
Oh, that's funny. So you are a very a big user of QSC audio gear. You have outfitted your entire basement with QSC audio. Is that not correct?
That is correct. I've also done a little tiki bar thing out at my pool, and we do a lot of fun things out there as well with QSC. So it's become a big part of my
A K-Series user. You Touch Mix 16 is what you started with. Now you have a Touch Mix 30. Is that correct?
That's correct. I have the 30 in my lounge downstairs, and then the 16's out in my tiki bar.
Have you entered the contest? Because you don't have a Touch Mix 8. You need one for free. Have you entered the contest?
I'm going to.
Okay.
I now that I really have the motivation to get
now
in.
Now that you're going to mention Jesse in your email. Yeah, okay. We got to get you guys together.
I definitely will, because I like to think I'm kind of, clever or up on the one-liners. So maybe maybe if everybody could join in and gang up on him a little bit, and maybe he'll learn not to call in and mess with your guys.
I don't, but I think Jesse could hold his own. He really could.
Yeah, I don't think Jesse's going to learn.
Yeah, he could swing them.
Well, good. I like to hit them back.
Yeah.
So,
well, thanks.
No problem.
Thanks for calling.
Yeah, I'll talk to you guys next month.
Enter that cool. Enter the contest. Win a free Touch Mix 8. Okay, cool. Thanks, D.
We are going to more Facebook comments and questions. Let's go to Colin at the Facebook desk.
Well, we've got a comment from Robbie. He said, Kevin's parents will never be in a nursing home, and neither will mine. Kevin, I believe you know who Robbie is.
Yeah. Yes, I sure do. Did I actually put them in a nursing home a minute ago? Oh, I said they wouldn't be. I couldn't picture them in a nursing home, actually.
Harold will never go.
Yeah, no, that's not going to happen. That's not going to. He won't even use a cell phone. What are you talking about? I can't picture him watching online. So, funny. Thanks, Robbie. Okay.
We also have Linda. She says, good job, Kevin. Hello from Nashville.
Hello, Linda. Let me see. I just saw this question from Bill Carroll. Can I read this here?
Yep, this is the one we're going to read. So
go ahead. Do it.
Okay. So Bill Carroll says, Kevin, I have a fairly serious question. Is there any service you know of that will take a larger reel master tape that was recorded on an analog machine, 16 or 24 track, and transfer it to a separate digital file for use in Pro Tools and or Logic?
Yes, there are plenty of archiving facilities available that will take 16 track or 24 track, and I don't know if it's that would depend on if it's 1 inch or 2 inch tape, but those services are available. We did that for a while, but finally, just because of lack of space, because so many formats have changed for the years that we've been around, we abandoned the analog 1 inch format. But yeah, Bill, if you want that done, get up with me, and I'd be happy to do it. So, in fact, I believe Bill Carroll recorded quite a bit of stuff on on 1 inch 16 track tape at our place, and great musician. Thanks for calling, Bill. And
he wants to get that transferred. How does the integrity of that tape hold up? I know it depends on the atmosphere it's in, but that's a serious issue that you want to get taken care of.
Depends on how it was stored, but the restoration, if you have a tape that wasn't stored well, the restoration guys can do a lot with it. And actually, one of the things that they actually do to restore tape is bake it.
Wow.
Now, coming from radio, we see a lot of stuff that's on plastic reels, so you can't do that. You got to put it on a metal reel, but you put it on a metal reel and put it in the oven, and it causes the oxide to stay on the tape for at least a couple more passes, and they can get that and transfer it digitally.
Amazing.
So, there are a lot of ways to do it.
Ray from Lima, Ohio. By the way, these questions are submitted info@midsouthaudio.com. You can also write them right here on Facebook, and we are live on this Tuesday evening East Coast time, 302-491-6484. You can call with your questions, 302-491-6484. Here's Ray from Lima, Ohio. Love the show. He's watched all the episodes. I have a lighting question. I want to learn more about color temperature. What is a good color temperature for house lights? How about white light on the stage with video? Just looking for guidelines. Also, we've installed a large amount of moving and LED fixtures. In fact, out of 46 instruments, we only have 6 dimmer channels for 12 ellipsoidals, and we are running 2 consoles on ETC Express for the ellipsoidal. Am I saying that right, guys?
Yeah, ellipsoidal. Yep.
And house lights, and 4 universes of DMX from our Whole Hog 3. Now, everybody understands this.
Yeah.
I would like your suggestion on integrating the 2 separate systems to one lighting system. What would you recommend? Thanks for taking time to answer. Good luck with the show.
So he has an Express and a Hog?
Well, yeah, I'll start with that. I mean, with
wow.
you don't need a new console to integrate both of those together. I mean, with the Hog, I want to say it has 4 physical outputs of DMX on the back. But you can expand from that because we were talking about Cat 5 and everything earlier. They have a Cat 5 output on that, which you could run ArtNet on. And with ArtNet, you can get at least 16 universes on that one Cat 5 cable. And to get that to DMX, I mean, people like Elation and Chauvet make converters. We just got one from Elation. It's the eNode 4. You can get an eNode 8. And what it does, it takes that Cat 5 with ArtNet, and then it splits it to 4 more universes. I know Whole Hog actually makes their own piece that you can get for the console. So you come out with Cat 5, you go to their piece, and it splits it into more universes. So I think you could get both of those consoles into one with still using your Whole Hog, because I want to say with the ETC Express you're using DMX right off the back of it. So I think that takes care of that. I mean, you just need to get that piece from Whole Hog or
Elation. It's pretty much just converting the Cat 5 to a physical DMX port.
Yeah, because I think there's only 4 on the Whole Hog.
And
yeah, most sliding consoles only have 4.
Ray is from Lima, Ohio, but and we don't do a lot of work in Lima. But if he wants to contact us, we would be happy to spec out something for him. If you wanted to purchase it locally or from someone else, or we would definitely take care of him. So that's a good question. I mean, that's somebody that's probably advanced. They've probably made technology changes in his church, and now he's stuck with 2 different.
Yeah, running 2 consoles is never fun.
It's crazy. Nobody wants to
too much stuff to work with. And then going to the whole color temperature of house lights. That's going back to the video too. Are you recording this? Are you using cameras live? And is it during the daytime? Because if it is during the daytime and you've got plenty of windows and everything in there, you are going to have a higher color temperature in your fixtures just because with the whole camera. If you have daylight coming in, that's more like 5 to 6K in the whole color temp. And then most of the time with stage light, it's around 3 to 4K. And when that camera is going, if you pan out and you get a window shot or something like that, and you've got your camera balanced to that 3 to 4K, everything else is going to look way more blue. So with the whole daylight thing, I mean, you would want house lights around 5K, but if it's all going on at night, you don't have much light coming in, you're going to try to match your stage lights. Just so every time your camera goes from the stage out to the audience, it's balanced, and you don't have to redo your white balance on your camera. Mm-hmm. So I think it all depends on, is this during the day? Is there a bunch of light coming in? Do you pan the audience? Are the lights up during the show? I mean, there's a lot more questions to it.
Very good. Next question.
Yeah.
Andrew in Easton, Maryland is live on the phone. Hi, Andrew. Go right ahead.
Hey, how you doing, man? Man, my band, we're thinking about getting some new PA gear. And my Sam, my front house man, he's always telling me, like, we need more watts in our speakers out front than we do in our power amps, because it's like, he said that's why we're blowing speakers all the time, because we got, our amps are too much for our speakers. And he said we need bigger speaker, more watts in the speakers. But man, I don't know, man. I don't want to be putting all this money in there, and it's because Andrew's just running things too hard. You know what I'm saying, man?
Well, yeah. Well, I guess the first thing is we could go with you could go with powered speakers, which are matched by the manufacturer. So that's. But there is actually a myth in this business that if let me think about this for just a second. The myth would be that if you have a 100-watt speaker and you have a 10-watt amp, that there's no way possible you could ever blow that speaker. And it actually,
that's what he's trying to tell me.
No, actually the reverse of that is true. And here's why. Headroom is what you want. You want to have, if you have a 10-watt amp that you're running at full power at 100% duty cycle, it's probably clipping. And that clipping signal is telling that speaker that it needs to be fully extended in one direction and fully contracted in the other direction at the same time. That builds up heat. That 10-amp amplifier will blow a 100-amp speaker.
So is that why I'm seeing lots of red? Sometimes I look back there, man. I'm doing my thing on stage. I ain't got time to be doing his job.
You would be seeing
lots of red.
You'd be seeing lots of red. You're better off to have a 1,000-watt amplifier and 100 watts. Well, in a smaller speaker, because the duty cycle actually of music is pretty low. It's in the 50 or 60% range. So the reverse of what you would think would make sense is actually is actually true.
And I mean, a quick
now like we get just like these power ones, man. They ain't gonna be so heavy we can't get them up. So our gig is it.
Actually, it's gonna be lighter.
Yeah.
You get a powered
Most of
speaker
the time nowadays. Powered speakers are lighter.
How much is a power? We'll talk to QSC later today. But what's the new K.2 series?
I mean, it's not. It's 20 pounds tops, 20, 30 pounds.
Yeah,
I mean,
and that's a speaker that's got a
man.
2,000 watt amplifier. So
I know. Maybe we need to be looking for a new man out front. That's what we need to do.
well,
what's the name of your band?
Oh, Jamadelic, man. Play that old classic stuff. And we groove it, man.
Jamadelic.
Groove it.
Jamadelic. On the waterfront.
Like we got the old hippies and the young ones.
Okay. Lots of red. All right. Well,
thanks. Rock on.
Man. Y'all have a good one, bro.
Okay,
All
man. Be cool.
Rock on.
All right. That might win. That's call of the year.
Yeah. Easton really rocks.
there's a lot of red.
A lot of red.
Colin has some Facebook comments and questions. Colin, what do you have?
All right, we have Bill Carroll says, thanks, Kevin. Of course, all the stuff I recorded with you was flawless, but I have some 2-inch, 24-track stuff I need transferred, and couldn't find anyone who could do it. I'll get up with you later.
I will say this about Bill Carroll. He's the only person that I know that was on Raider Record with Dick Clark. Ooh. Back in 81 or 82, he was on Raider Record, and get up with me, Bill, and I'll take care of that for you. I can definitely. There's probably somebody in the Charlotte area that does that I know of, so we can talk about that. That's where Bill moved to. So cool. We've got. I want to say one thing. I just saw that Gavin Haverstick was joining us on Facebook. Gavin is a acoustic engineer. He's a partner of ours. He does a lot of work for. He's from the Chicago area, or probably not the Chicago, somewhere in that general vicinity in the Midwest. Anyway, he's watching the show. Gavin's a good friend. He's helped out a lot of churches in this area with his consulting services, and Gavin is going to be doing a project for us. We are going to be expanding, remodeling our studios, and Gavin's going to be taking care of that for us. So we're very happy to be partnering with Gavin. And he was in Mix Magazine. People in this business will understand this. Mix Magazine is the industry kind of standard magazine. And Gavin had a studio in the class of 2017, which is a very prestigious place, a place that he designed. Great studio designer and a very good friend. So thanks for hanging in there. Thanks for participating tonight, Gavin.
Colin, your next question.
Yep. Well, Jonathan's checking in also. Say, Kevin, keep rocking, and thank you for giving me my start and a chance to work in audio.
I see Jonathan Moloch all over Facebook. Yeah, Jonathan's got a great career. So good hearing from you. And Richard Chilvers is watching. Richard done a lot of lecturing at our worship for audio for worship for the church conferences. So thanks Richard for joining us.
And we did have a question from Kevin. Kevin asks, are there any good cheap projectors for family movie night in the backyard? I bought one on Amazon for the Super Bowl, but the picture was very dark even at night.
Mike?
I guess that depends on your definition of cheap. You can buy projectors from couple $100 to $20,000. So it really depends. There's a lot of options out there. It just depends really on your definition of cheap.
Of the lines that we sell, though, there's got to be an Hitachi that's pretty on the lower end side, or Ryko, that are very good quality projectors that are going to be below $1,000.
Yeah,
yeah. So, for the cost of a TV, you could get a really good projector.
Yeah.
So.
Mid-South Audio Tech Talk Live. Kevin, who's coming up at 8 o'clock, just after 8 this evening?
QSC will be joining us. Wow, and it's almost that time. So in 8 minutes, we'll be joined by QSC, and we'll be talking about TouchMix, and we'll be talking about the K-Series. So speakers. So definitely stick around, and we'll be talking a little bit more about our competition to win a free TouchMix mixer from QSC.
All right, let's go to a question from Elliot in Cambridge, Maryland. Elliot says, speaker systems are getting smaller and smaller. I used to think that it was a mistake to use powered speakers, but after hearing some of the new stuff like the EV, Yamaha, and QSC, I think that may be the best way for my band to go. Sad to say, but it's just not as cool looking, even at large concerts. The speakers age speakers are getting smaller. Have you had any trouble with water or dampness or rain issues when the amp is in the speaker? I know you don't want to use speakers in the rain, but I always keep my amps where I could cover them if a storm came up. With a powered speaker, the amplifier is exposed just like the speaker. Have you ever had any problems with this?
That's the second comment this week that I've heard about the cool factor of smaller speakers. That musicians are still, I guess.
Well, there's nothing like the stacks of Marshalls, right? Is that what they're thinking?
Yeah, that's what they're thinking. Now it's gotten so small and so efficient and so loud that it's just not as cool because it's, even cell phones have gotten bigger, because they lost their cool factor. But you guys might want to take this, but I mentioned the rain
back,
jackets.
Yeah, and I was going to say with the amplifiers built in the back, I mean they're very sealed. The only way water can get in is usually through the mic jacks or something like that.
But they are susceptible to damage. I have personally dealt with if you get in a storm, too much water.
Well, yeah, through a storm. But I mean, our powered speakers have sat outside in the rain. I mean, I feel like the cones and everything are going to get jammed.
Overall, we've had pretty good luck with it.
And now with the
I was talking about the new QSC product. We just got covers for our Ks, and they're pretty amazing.
No, yeah, the bag actually stays on the speaker when it's on the pole mount, and the front has like two zippers where it actually opens up, and behind that there's like a mesh that's covering the front of the speaker. So I mean, sound is still able to get out, and it's protected from the rain. The amp in the back is covered, and it's actually got two little pockets where your power goes through and your XLRs plug in, and it's covering everything.
Yep. Yeah,
it's a little rain jacket for the speaker.
And so that's for the
cool
QSC K12, the K.2 series.
Yeah, I was really surprised when we got those. It was a cool idea. So it protects the speaker, and you can use it in the rain. So.
Very nice. Next question. By the way, your phone call's live tonight. 302-491-6484. 302-491-6484. Any kind of audio question, tech question when it comes to running audio and visual in your churches, your bands, your events, whatever. Also, please share. This is a live show. Thanks to those who have already shared this. But let's go to the next question. Mike from Williamsburg, Virginia. My son's high school just installed a new sound system in the auditorium. I believe it's a D-Live. I should probably ask this question to my son, but I don't want dear old dad to sound out of touch. Can multiple iPads be used on the console at one time? I've seen a couple of students using their iPads simultaneously, I'm pretty sure. How does this work? If one of them turns something up, can someone else turn it down? Does the console operator have master control? If I were to purchase an iPad to connect, what model should I buy?
And now for the answer to that, our resident Allen and Heath expert, Michael Cates.
I don't know about an expert, but you can definitely run multiple iPads on the D-Live and on most consoles anymore. But how most consoles handle that now is the console recognizes the ID of your mobile device, phones, iPads, and you actually grant it permission to what it can do. So on most consoles now, you can limit an iPad to only control like a certain monitor mix or the main mix. But it's really dependent on each system slightly different. But I believe with the D-Live, it does have administration where you can adjust what any certain iPad can do. But in regard to master control, no. The console operator really doesn't have master control if someone else has an iPad controlling the mains. They can someone can turn it up on their iPad, and the console's going to turn it back down if he wants to.
Yeah, the only thing you really do is just limit what they have control over, but they can still...
If you have two people on iPads controlling the main mix, one guy might turn something up, the next guy could turn it right back down. So it's usually best if you're controlling the main mix, there should only be one person.
And if there's a couple of people walking around, they may just be controlling their own monitor mix.
Yes.
Which that could be the case.
That's the idea behind the multiple iPads, is for monitor mixes, not for adjusting the main mix with multiple people.
One other part of that, maybe you answered it. If I were to purchase an iPad to connect, what model should I buy?
Any of the newer iPads should be fine. The iPad minis, the Pros. Yeah. The plus side of the Pro, which is the newest one, is it's much bigger, but at the same time, it's heavier.
Yeah, a lot of guys using minis now.
Yeah, minis are becoming pretty popular,
especially guys on stage because they fit well on a mic stand. We see a lot of iPad minis.
Mid-South Audio Tech Talk Live. Colin, Facebook comment from the Facebook desk.
Yeah, going back to the QSC discussion, Ben Sorrells says new QSC bags.
Cool. And Ben just ordered some. Yes, and they'll be in. I'll have them with me next week when I see you, Ben, at Denton Wesleyan Camp. So I will have those with me. Hopefully they'll be here. So.
All right. We have a great question from Rick from Salisbury, but I don't know if time will allow before we break.
We might want to save that for a larger panel.
That's a really great question. He wants to know about
good.
the best mics for male vocal, guitar, and he wants everybody's answer.
We should save that for all the audience.
We can't do that in
question.
Yeah, we can't do that in 2 minutes.
But if I could skip ahead to the next question.
Oh, the next one's good.
Gail from Milford, Delaware. I've started thinking about Christmas already. I would like one of those fancy light displays that change to music for my house. Does Mid-South Audio sell or install Christmas lights for homes?
No.
No, yeah, we're shaking our heads. No.
No, that's an easy one. We used to have an employee who was a Christmas light enthusiast, but he's no longer with us. It's amazing how sophisticated some of those home lighting systems are. Now, Dutch has installed Christmas lights in my house, but he's under contract to me personally, so that's a completely different thing. But as far as doing fans, but they were indoors; they weren't even outside. Yeah. So no, we don't do that. So.
All right. Great question. Back in a minute with Mid-South Audio Tech Talk Live special guest and your phone calls, 302-491-6484. Don't go away. Call now. There's more to come.
Tech Talk Live.
And we are back with the last half hour of Tech Talk Live. And, wow, that first hour went really quickly. First, before we introduce our guest, and you went to eat, didn't you? It's too good. Hey, we have, my wife was here catering, and we also want to thank Caitlin in the back for helping out with the Facebook comments. And this is a group effort here to put this all together. And once again, thanks Dan for sitting in for Colin tonight. So. We're going to get to our guest in just a second, but I want to mention we are currently in the middle of a competition to win a free TouchMix 8. And all you have to do that is send an email to info@midsouthadio.com and say, put free TouchMix 8 in the subject line and just tell us why, or tell QSC why you deserve a free TouchMix 8. They're going to select a winner at random on next month's show, and somebody's going to win a free TouchMix 8, so that's a big deal. QSC is going to be joining us. We have Chris Brolette, who is the Pro PA Loudspeaker Product Manager for QSC. His responsibilities primarily involve the maintenance and growth of QSC's portable loudspeaker category. Chris has over 15 years of experience in the music industry, including the operation of a private DJ event service company in Southern California. And in addition to his work and experience, Chris is an avid musician of 20-plus years, playing guitar regularly with a local band, which helps him stay in direct contact with the types of PA products musicians and DJs are currently using. Grateful to have turned his love of music into a career, Chris spends a large amount of his time traveling the world to train QSC sales teams and users how to get the best results out of their products. Joining us live from Costa Mesa, California, in beautiful Orange County, please welcome Chris Brolette to the show. And I understand we have Greg Geiser on here with us. So, Chris and Greg, are you both there?
I am here.
We are here.
Cool. All right. Well, thanks for joining us. And it's joining us from the West Coast. It's still you're working overtime. You're still there at 5 o'clock, huh?
Oh, we never really stop working around here. We're just kind of around the clock.
Well, there you go. We did this last week. We had our first sponsor guest with Shure, and we talked about the changes in the wireless spectrum. This week's going to be a little different because there's no real pending regulation change in console or speaker world. But I think that QSC probably has the biggest news of any. Of any manufacturer out there, you've got a groundbreaking console, a groundbreaking series of consoles, and this new K series stuff is just unbelievable. And I mean, we started with HPRs, we went from HPRs to Ks, and we went from Ks now to K.2s, and every time I didn't think it could get any better. And I mean, I think that's probably the way it was for everybody. I mean,
we were blown away when we set up the K2.
Yeah, it was absolutely unbelievable. So, I've talked enough. I'm going to let you take it away. I know we've got some Skype slides that you'll be showing tonight. So, and the cool thing, and Chris, I think I did mention this to you in advance. We may be getting some phone calls. So, you may have some phone calls from outside viewers and. We'll just take those as they come. So
that's right. Any questions for QSC? 302-491-6484. Call now.
All right. Chris, go ahead and tell us what's exciting about the new K-Series before we get into the TouchMix stuff.
Well, the K-Series, I mean, it was a ground-up redesign. It's not just sort of a repackaging the same product using the same drivers and putting new guts in it or things of that sort. It's a complete rebuild from the ground up. They gave us the ability to redistribute the power, more appropriately in the box. Because things like a high-frequency driver doesn't need 1,000 watts of peak power. It's a little overkill, you could say. And then obviously we live in a digital world now. People want DSP. They want that control, that ability to fine-tune their sound from the loudspeaker and not be reliant on an external processor. Those things that progression of technology got us to where we are now with the K.2.
Chris, how does the amplifier situation in the K series work? I mean, it's not just what you said. You don't need a high frequency driver that takes. You got a 2,000 watt amplifier. You obviously don't want to send 1,000 watts to the high frequency. So is this an amplifier with a passive crossover, or do we have two amplifiers and an active network? Which how are you accomplishing that?
Yeah, so I'll kind of I'll go backwards just a hair. So the Legacy K series had two 1,000 watt peak power, 500 watt continuous power amplifiers. One dedicated for the high frequency driver, one dedicated to the LF. But we had to severely limit that high frequency amplifier to keep from just tearing the compression driver apart. Obviously,
right.
So in the K.2 series, we divided it and built a brand new amplifier, and it's again two amplifiers. So now we have 1,800 watts of peak power going to the LF, to the woofer, and only 225 watts going to the HF driver of peak power. So that more appropriate distribution of power, while it's still 2,000 watts as a whole and actually offers the same current draw as the Legacy K series, it gives you more, clarity, more headroom, more dynamics before distortion, all that kind of stuff in the box. So it pushes, a lot further than the Legacy K without hitting the limiter or running out of gas.
Speaking of that, just for the guy out there that has a local band that's playing clubs on a regular basis, how many K12.2s can you use on a standard wall outlet if you go into just the local club to plug in where everybody knows there's always power is always a problem finding enough? How many can you plug in one circuit?
Yeah, that's the beauty of these Class D amplifiers is that they only draw about 2 amps per box, and that's at full usable output.
2,000 watts, 2 amps.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep, that's it.
Wow.
So it's you can stack 5-6 of these on a 20 amp circuit and still have plenty of room. Which is that's the beauty of the product. It doesn't have or it's a very efficient power amplifier, I should say.
And that's an amazing accomplishment. Like you said, you did do a complete rework of this from the ground up. And the first thing that we noticed when we got ours was the DSP on the back. A lot of presets. You've taken a lot of different scenarios into consideration, so the absolute novice can just flip through the menus and configure their sound system. Is that not correct?
No, that's absolutely correct. They're application-specific presets that we put in there. So, sort of tying in similar to what we did with the TouchMix series, where we put in presets that for the less experienced user that doesn't know how a compressor works, it doesn't know how to EQ, or maybe just doesn't have time to do those on the fly. You can just pull up a preset for a vocal or for an instrument setting, and it sort of just gives you that beautiful starting point. We sort of did all the work for you. So the presets in the K.2 series follow that same type of logic and mentality, where if you select a live preset, it's really tuned to sort of give you a more stable system. If you select a stage monitor preset, it has sort of the things removed from it that are going to be problematic, in 85-90% of the scenarios that you're using it in. So we just tried to take that guesswork out of it to make it simple for the less experienced user to get a great sound, or for the more experienced user to just get something that goes right out of the gate.
Do you have any images you can put up on the screen? I know we've got a Skype line hooked up, so we can see maybe the back panel of this.
Yeah, I'm looking for it here in real time. Let me find.
Because the other thing that a lot of people take for granted, I mean, it's in all the literature and it's in all your advertising, but the one thing that you can forget pretty easily is that not only is this a powered speaker that'll work as a in your typical PA rig, but you can take one of these speakers, plug a microphone in it. It's got its own mic preamp. It has a built-in mixer, and you've got a full PA with just one speaker.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let me see if I can see what you're showing here.
Yeah, no, I just flipped over to a K.2 back panel here. So this gives you an idea of what the user interface that we've got here. There are 3 separate gain controls. We did kind of a cool thing on the K.2 as well. In the Legacy K, you had channel A was a mic line input, channel B was just a line input only, and then the sort of auxiliary input to RCA connectors was linked to channel B. It didn't have its own separate gain control. So now we have channel A that is a mic line selection. We have channel B that actually offers the ability to be line or high Z instrument, so it'll take a passive pickup directly without the need for a direct box. And then there's a channel C there linked to that 8-inch mini jack all the way on the right side of the box, so you can just plug a phone or playback device directly into it, and you've got a 3-channel mixer.
So the typical solo act can have one of these speakers, have a microphone, a DI for their guitar, and they got a full PA.
Yep, you wouldn't even need a DI for the guitar. Just plug right in.
Right, exactly right. You're exactly right. The instrument plugs directly in, the mic plugs directly in, and then you could. That's a lot of stuff packed into the box, and
it's a lot of stuff you don't need to bring.
It's arguably one of the most sort of versatile, portable PA speakers on the planet at this point.
You're exactly right. Do you have another image of this? The front? We showed the back. Can we show people what the front of this thing looks like?
Absolutely. Let me. There we go. So we've got.
Hey, while you're bringing that up, I'll tell everybody, if you have any questions, make sure you put them on Facebook. If you have any questions or comment about this, or call 302-491-6484. We are live here on Tech Talk Live.
Here, I'm gonna.
And you went from the Legacy K series, which a lot of us own. I know Dan in his remote gig. You use case. Do you have a K?
I think we have one of these. Yeah,
K,
something
K10.
like that.
Yeah. You have the Legacy version. Yeah. When they came out with all this new technology, you guys didn't change the price. Is that not correct?
That is correct. We kept the price the same.
That's another amazing thing. All this new stuff and the price stayed the same. So
yep. Absolutely.
That's really cool. So there's the front of it. That's what you're looking at. It's as attractive as the Legacy series was. And we were talking about weight earlier. Do you know off the top of your head what these things weigh? It was a question earlier in the show. We weren't quite sure, but.
Yeah, so the K8.2, they actually remain the same across the 8 and the 10. I want to say the 8.2 is about just a hair under 30 pounds. The 10.2 is about 34 pounds, and the 12.2 actually did go on a little diet, lost a pound, so it's about 39 pounds.
Wow. Okay, cool.
And Ben says online, wow, only 2 amps. He's very excited about that.
Yeah. I mean, that is amazing. It's a lot of stuff that because no matter where people are using it, power is always an issue. And now, whether you're doing it in a church or in a club, you're always it's always that's a challenge to find out enough PA. Guitar players bringing in these big honking, tube guitar amps that need 15 amps to make the tubes all glow. And now it's cool that the PA will work with just a 2 amp current draw per box. So that's amazing.
And I've felt that pain myself, being a wedding DJ and being at a venue, and they go, oh well, we've got a 10 amp circuit over here dedicated for you. So these will get the job done. And
that Class D technology actually extends down into your K sub line too, even though that's not been well. I guess you have made a change in that you have the cardioid sub, but what's the current draw capability from the K sub?
So the K sub actually has the same legacy amplifier as the K series, so it is also 2 amps.
Okay, wow, how about that?
The KW K. And that includes the 181 subwoofer, the entire KW top box line, the K sub, even the KLA series. They all have that same legacy 1,000-watt amp still.
That's amazing. That's just an amazing efficiency. Let's talk. Can you talk a little bit about the cardioid sub? Am I really throwing things around at you here?
No, I can keep up with you. No,
okay,
not a problem.
Cool. Just tell a lot of people, a lot of us in the pro audio industry are really, kind of versed or familiar with how to make a cardioid sub with 3 subs or whatever. We've been doing that for a long time to keep, low end from coming back on the stage. But now you've done it, and talk about how your approach is different and why it works and all that stuff.
Yeah. So what we did with the cardioid sub, low frequency omnidirectionality it can be really difficult for a sound person or a monitor person that needs to deal with those that low frequency spillback onto a stage or into the DJ booth or things of that sort. So what we did is we is basically put 2 subwoofers in one box. So the cardioid sub, or the KS212C, is actually 2 12-inch 6-order bandpass subs, all in one case, and one's forward firing, one's rear firing, and we do all the time and phase and gain alignment and all that kind of stuff to essentially cancel out 15 dB of low frequency at the rear, centered at 70 hertz, so that it the frequencies that really punch the hardest are the ones that are disappearing from the rear of the box.
And how does that affect the overall SPL at the front of the box?
It actually offers a little bit of coupling, because by time aligning to the back, it's actually sort of offsetting out the front by just a few milliseconds, enough that it actually adds a few dB of output to the front of the box.
And that's, I've heard people talk about, well, we don't want to do cardioid subs because, we don't hear it in the back, but you're actually going to, you're losing power out front. And in this situation, you're absolutely saying that's not the case.
Yeah, it's we like to do our own sanity checks around here and make sure that we're making stuff that's actually usable. And you can put this thing right up against a KW181, and it's going to punch just as well as our top selling subwoofer.
Well, bass players all over the world have lived in this swimminess of low end. You want the PA to sound good and punchy, but there's just times when you're on stage and you're playing a low frequency instrument, be it a kick drum or a bass guitar, that you cannot get away out of that low end field. And a cardioid sub like this is a blessing to be able to have that go away, because you really don't need it there. You want it to be. You want the audience to feel it. You don't want to be living in it, and that's what it feels like sometimes. You're just swimming in this low end rumble.
Yeah, and you don't have to have all the advanced DSP to do it. You don't have to have a smart rig. You don't have to show up hours early before the gig and time a line and set up the whole rig. You can just plug into it, and it's already a cardioid sub.
Question online, Peter Radford. I love my Legacy K10, but those are some impressive features. Will Mid-South Audio buy my Legacy K10 so I can buy the new version?
Peter Radford was the winner of the SM58 last week. I think he should just be content to be the winner of that microphone. However, if he could. You can never have too many speakers, so that would be the thing to do, is just buy more. So
I support that wholeheartedly.
We want to talk about TouchMix here in a second, but we had a question that we did not get to in our regular hour, and it was a pretty generic question. And I think we could have tackled it, but since we have a QSC expert, we had someone that just asked. They've seen ads, they've read about it. They wanted to know what QSYS was. So could you take a minute and just explain what QSYS is, what that platform's all about?
Sure. I'll kind of keep it high level because you can get pretty deep into that stuff.
Well, we could do a whole show on this, and then and then we'd have to be asking Greg questions the whole time through it. So we've kind of had him glaze over in our presence before, but just give him a general answer to that if you don't mind.
So the sort of easiest response is what isn't QSYS? QSYS is an advanced digital signal processor that will route audio through any number of internal processors. I mean, it's not just things that people are, pro audio guys are familiar with, like phasers and flangers and chorus and EQ and compressor and all that kind of stuff. But you can do things like route audio and video through conferencing systems, video conferencing like corporate systems, or you can have it run the time scheduling at an airport. You can have it run audio through a stadium PA through networkable amplifiers. It's about the most versatile network-based DSP system that you can possibly get, and that's really tough to kind of go deeper on that without having a lot more time.
And absolutely, and that's plenty. But it's the core or the central located piece of any pro audio and video system in an installed situation. So
exactly, it works via network. It's a level 3 network system. So if there's an existing gigabit network built into the building, you can literally run audio anywhere you'd like, or video, or any signal for that matter. From whatever point you plug into the other end.
Well, thanks for answering that. That's one we don't have to tackle on next month's show. See, that was great. That was our bonus question for the week. So. As you know, we are giving away, well, we're not giving away, QSC is giving away a TouchMix 8 to one of our viewers or listeners or Facebook Live participants. On next month's show, we've been running this contest since last month's show, and we've gotten quite a few entries. And for those that are just tuning in or don't know the contest rules, it's simple. You got to send an email to info@midsouthaaudio.com. In the subject line, you have to say, free TouchMix 8, and you just have to tell QSC why you would like to have a free TouchMix 8. So someone's going to walk home with one. So that's a transition into going from K-Series speakers to, I guess, the companion of that, the other end, which would be the mixer, which started with TouchMix 8, went on to 16, then went to TouchMix 30, And now you've actually redone the 8 and the 16 with a new firmware and software upgrade. So can you kind of take us through that process?
Yep, absolutely. And I'm re-pulling up my my training PowerPoint that I had here, making sure that I get something that I can follow along with, because here we go, the pinnacle of technology, and PowerPoint doesn't like to work. So yeah, I'll talk about it here briefly while I'm searching for this. It's basically what we did is we launched the TouchMix 8 and the 16 a couple of years ago, on the design of simplicity, and made something that actually was a lot simpler than the unit that's in front of you guys now, or that we have available now, I should say. Throughout the course of the last couple of years, we've actually taken a lot of customer input and built something that's far more intricate, but still, it's not an easy concept to take something really complicated and make it easy. A lot of design ideas went into this in order to make it happen. And so with the launch of our 3.0 firmware, we essentially did the same thing we did last time, which is where we took the customer input of people going, hey, we love the TouchMix 30. There's a lot of cool stuff in there, like anti-feedback, our auto feedback elimination, room tuning wizards, just little things like the ability to touch the screen and move EQ around with your finger instead of having to use the control knob, all these kind of advanced things. And we managed to stuff it down into the TouchMix 8 and 16, probably with a lot more things than we ever expected it to have.
There are so many really large pro audio features in such a small compact mixer that is amazing. The person, or I think the client that would have had an $800 mixer is probably somebody that doesn't know much about, that had never had any experience about virtual sound check. But with TouchMix, virtual sound check is just a piece of cake, and there's a lot of different ways to use it. We're involved in a local TV show called Delmarva Life, where there's a band that they have musical guests weekly, if not multiple times a week. And here's a way we use virtual sound check. We have Christian Toller, one of our techs, sets up the band. They do all the camera shots and get ready for the show, and in the rehearsal portion of the show. And then while they tape the rest of the show, which is an interview, on the couch kind of magazine show, he actually takes the recording of that rehearsal and then does the mixing via virtual sound check in headphones. So when the band comes out to actually play the song live on the show, he's got that mix already set up and tweaked and ready to go. And and that's with a mixer that you can put under your arm and carry around. I mean, that feature is that's unbelievable, and you couldn't do that before. So that's
it's the beauty of not having to have a computer, to be able to record and play back all that kind of stuff. It's really its own little mini standalone production console, as well as being able to mix.
And the other feature that I find, and I'll let these guys say what they really like about the TouchMix series, but the other feature that I find that's the most usable is that if you're an absolute novice, that every function of that mixer has a simple mode. And, it comes into, if you don't know what a compressor does, you can just put that thing in simple mode, and you can turn on the compressor and just turn a button up and see, well, boy, does it sound better with compression or without compression? And it does all the thinking and all the adjustments in the background. You don't have any, and if you are an experienced user and you want to get in and play with the attack and the decay and all that, you have access to that. But same way with an EQ. People understood, treble and bass. And you've taken sophisticated an equalizer and really given it that simple of an interface. And I don't know if you have a picture of any of that there. We finally see that up on the screen. That is a TouchMix 8, and that's what we're actually giving away in this competition. So, somebody's going to actually have one of those. So those are all. Let's see. We have the TouchMix 30 there on the bottom, and
you're showing screens from the. Yep,
these are just
trying to get some different screens here that show you the interactability, the preset selection. The presets, I kid you not, we spent weeks and weeks and weeks working with these. The Mixer product manager is a 30-plus year road veteran of working with various bands and front of house mixing and all that kind of stuff. So
the guy you're speaking of is just an audio guru. You're talking about John Graves, and he's John
Graves.
John Graves is a very personal friend of mine. He still gives me a hard time for inviting him to his house and not having coffee. But anyway, he's, I remember my first experience with John was we had purchased our first line array, and John was out demoing the Wideline 10, and he went to work on what I thought was a pretty good sounding kick drum, and then he literally just did surgery on that kick drum from the console for about 5 minutes, and it became one of the greatest sounding kick drums I think I've ever heard in my entire life. And I thought he's never going to give up. He did most of these presets. Is that not correct?
He did all of the presets.
All of them. I mean, he's got a great set of ears, and he's really good at what he does. So
yeah. So the concept that it was jumping in wasn't just hey, let's EQ the instrument. Okay, let's EQ an acoustic guitar by pulling out some 400 or boosting up some 4 or 8K or things like that. Instead of just taking the idea of how to make the instrument sound like what you want it to sound like, it was how do you make the instrument sound right in the mix.
Right.
How do you make sure that the kick drum doesn't get muddled with the bass or the low end of a piano? And how do you make sure the vocals sit separate from the guitar? And so when you pull up the, those presets, the EQs are set, the compressors are set, but they're also style specific. They're also input specific. So depending on the type of microphone you're using, depending on whether you're, playing a jazz gig or a rock gig or things like that, there's variations in there to play with and try out and find the setting that works for your particular mix. It's pretty extensive. I mean,
it's a very expensive. It's in a very extensive library of things, and it gets that. It's like mandolin recorded with a 414 or whatever for bluegrass. I mean, there's it's real genre specific and microphone specific, and you went to a lot of trouble just to make things easy, just to make it plug and play. That's the beauty of it. So we've got we're actually running out of time here. See if these guys have any comments about TouchMix. You have any questions or anything you need to say about it? No. We're gonna be giving one of these away. Chris, I really appreciate you joining us. Thank you for spending a half hour that went by very quickly.
That was very fast.
and Greg, thank you for bringing Chris to the table. And we'll talk next month because we've got to give away one of these things. So someone's going to walk away with a TouchMix 8 of their very own just for joining this competition. So guys, thanks a lot for your time. We appreciate it. That's going to wrap things up for this edition of Tech Talk Live. We'll be back in a month with episode number 5. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Good night.
Thanks, guys.